Hello, friend. Here we are again. This is our last inner authority. And again, just like the last one, it's kind of an interesting inner authority because it's actually based off of something outside of you. And I've said before, you don't want to give your outer or inner authority to anything or anyone. And that's true. However, we're gaining the wisdom. And then you get to bring that in and feel it and then move forward from that consciousness field. So it's a little bit different, and I'll introduce it to you. But first, here we are again, our inner authority page, if you've been following along in any of these videos. So the inner authority is the way for you to listen to your own consciousness field, to tap into your body's consciousness to make decisions. And it's not about giving authority to anybody else. And the last one, the last video is definitely not about that, and neither is this. So inner authority brings the power of your decisions back within your consciousness field. The inner authority empowers you to live your own individualized life. It's not about conformity or homogenization. It's about making decisions for what is best for you. Inner authority elevates the self-actualization to a place of pure awareness. You get to see it. You get to take the cobwebs, out of the mind and out of the perspective, and you get to absolutely see what you're meant to see. Inner authority assesses what is correct for you. You get to make that decision based off of how your consciousness field, the information you're grokking from your own consciousness field. It's not about handing your authority over to anyone, your boss, the government, whatever it is. And that is the homogenized society that we're in. So inner authority sets up the movie so you can watch it. So the movie's already set up, but the inner authority allows your mind to then not be clogged up and distracted and chaotic because it's not making decisions anymore. Decision exhaustion is rampant. And we're not built to let our minds make decisions. Just turn on the news for 5 seconds and see what's going on when the mind is trying to make decisions. It is chaos. So what happens when the inner authority is the truth, is the GPS or guidance system, then the mind can do what it's meant to do, and that is motivate you correctly and have a clear, crisp perception and perspective as to what's going on, and not a distorted one. The inner authority is the composer of the instrument you came here to play through. So, say you were given a guitar as your instrument. That's your definition. That's what you have to play with. And then as you, tune into that instrument and get it to a point of beautiful music, what you're sharing with other people is what we, call your outer authority, as the next line indicates. Clears up the airwaves and tunes you into your outer authority. What we're learning out here, and you're going to learn this with this inner authority as well, what we're learning out here that's going on outside of us, that's wisdom that we can gain. But what has happened in our world and our society is we've handed over our power, we've handed over our authority, and then there's this control factor, and then we wait for somebody to make our decisions for us because we're trying to make it through the mind. The mind can't do it. The mind is exhausted and it cannot do it. So your instrument, when it's tuned in and it's beautiful and it's playing its music, you become a beautiful outer authority for other people. And what's really fun is that when we take a look at these lunar beings, man, they are wise beyond their years. So don't make decisions through the mind. Make decisions through your definition, through your consciousness field. And yes, I know that your consciousness field is connected to the whole of the consciousness field. I totally get that. However, you came to have a differentiated experience, an individualized, differentiated experience. And in that, you get to make decisions for the health and well-being of your meat suit, of your vehicle, this rented vessel that you jumped into. Love it, take care of it, feed it, energetically, appreciate it. These beings are fantastic beings. So kind of like when you have the sacral defined, you're either a generator or a manifesting generator. That definition creates the type. Well, it's the same thing here. So the lack of definition, so what happens with these people, they are actually called reflectors or evaluators. They'll have hanging gates hanging, out of these centers, but they'll actually have no definition. So all of their centers are going to be white, whether that be all white as open or, a few hanging gates or traits and that be undefined. So then you're like, well, if they're waiting for the moon, how's that inner authority? So these people are here to wait for a lunar cycle. So a lunar cycle is between 28 to 29 and a half days. It all depends on what you read, and I am not one of these beings, and I'll be honest, I've never really sat back and tracked the moon, which maybe at some point I'll be moved to do that. But the human design system has the mandala. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pause this for a minute, and then I'm going to pull up my other system. Let me just share this. Okay. So here we are, and this is an example of a reflector chart, okay? And if we look here at the mandala, there is 64 gates that the moon goes through in 28 to 29 and a half days. Again, I have personally never tracked it, and anything I read is between 28 and 29 and a half days. Nobody seems to agree on that. So I guess it all depends on your concept of time. But anyways, so as you can see, they have actually no definition. So they're waiting for the moon to go around and then define the gate on the other end. So for example here, this person has the 30th gate. They're waiting for the 41st gate to be activated by the moon. Or, they can be meeting people too, but the decision making is actually from the moon. So the 41st gate is here. So when the moon enters into the 41st gate, and it goes pretty fast, it goes through 2.5 gates a day apparently. Again, never tracked it myself. But all of a sudden, there's a definition here. And what's going to happen is that evaluator or that reflector has this sense of, okay, what feelings do I focus on around this decision? And they get to grok the wisdom as to what is that desire and what do I feel about it. So they get to get that information. So now let's flip back over to our here. So the cycle is very consistent, right? It goes around and around and around, and it's consistent. It's moving through those gates consistently, month in, month out, month in, month out. So when these beings trust that wisdom that comes with this cycle, they become the most solid people on the planet for decision making. The one fellow that has been in human design for like years and years and years, Darmen is his name, and he worked with Ra, the creator of human design. And his indication of it is like he can feel the moon. It's almost like this, you know, these little cogs on a wheel, and you feel that. He feels that click through his body, and he's become so stable because he now knows he has to wait for that moon, that minimum that minimum cycle before he makes a decision. And what happens when these beings do this, the surprise and the delight in the life, you know, is permeating in the life. But just imagine this, right? That you're waiting for this long and somebody is hounding you for a decision, and you become spontaneous, and all of a sudden, like, you're so disappointed, right? That's what's going to happen with these people. They become very disappointed. And, you know, life isn't no more like, oh, look at that, right? It's like, oh, it becomes really disappointing. So again, the environment for these beings, no different from our mental projectors that are you know, connected to the environment. The environment and who is in that environment is critical, as these people in the environment become the trusted advisors, and those really are the ones initiating you. You know, the people in your circle, they're the ones really initiating you. You need to be initiated. You're a reflector, you're an evaluator, you need to be initiated. And then you get to just sit in your cycle for the decision making. But the people are critical. So the story I told in the last video, and I don't know if you've listened to it or not, but I'll reiterate it here. So in my design, and I'll just pop over to, so in my design, you see here that this G center or identity center is undefined, completely open. Environment is critical. Environment is critical for you as well. More critical for you than it is for me, because I actually have definition and I do have an inner authority. But what I learned about this center was, I think it was approximately 3 years ago, I was asked to do a talk on human design at one of the health and wellness expos that was in town. I didn't have a booth there in the trade show. I was just asked to come in and speak. So my sacral moved me forward, because I really do love this stuff, and I love you know, sharing this with my tribe and empowering people to step into their true self. So there was energy there. There was a movement there to do that. And you know, out of my memory, I saw the stage from the year before and where it was in the building, and everything was good. Well, I walked in and the stage was right in the middle of the entire of the room. All the trade shows or trade booths were around it, and people could be on all four sides. Poof. My identity center was like, wrong environment. Totally wrong environment. And I heard it. I knew exactly what was going on. It was like this little that, like, viscerally, my body kind of contracted a little bit. And I also knew that I was having this experience so that I could teach it, so that I could, you know, coach other people through it, and so that I could witness it. Because I knew that my sacral had brought me there. I knew that the decision was correct for me. So I did go early. That's a part of who I am as well. And I sat there, and I think I heard, I want to say I don't know, 2 or 3 speakers anyways prior to me. Maybe not that many, because I think it was 45-minute talks. And then I stayed afterwards for a while. And the whole time, my body did not, no matter what, I could sit in that environment, I probably could have sat there all weekend, and it was not happy with it, period. Like, that open identity center was like, no, this is not the right environment. And when I got up to talk on stage, there was nothing there. And I think I spoke for maybe 5 minutes, and I believe I was supposed to speak for 45, maybe 20, I can't remember. Doesn't matter anyways. But I barely even got on stage, and I was getting off stage. So that was a learning experience for me about environment. I knew that I was there correctly through the sacral response, but then I also knew that the environment was incorrect. And that's okay, because it taught me so much that day. So for lunar beings, healthy environment feels at ease. The body feels at ease. Unhealthy environment, the body feels ill at ease. And the reason is because lunar beings need to speak about the process as they're going through the process, and they need to have trusted advisors. Now, if this is your definition, and you have people in your life that are hounding you to make a decision, or pressuring you to be more spontaneous, just take a look at your environment. Does it feel good? And understanding the difference between, I'm here and or no. Does it really feel good? Or are you just there because you've always been there? What's really interesting is I have a nephew that has this configuration. And that young man placed himself with the most intelligent people possible when he went to university. And he come out of there with an amazing, marks 98, 99, and he went in for computer engineering. And because of him, having this, I guess, real innate sense as to who he is, he placed himself with the wisest, smartest people. And, when he got his job, he then placed himself with the healthiest people as well. So, this young guy is super intelligent and beyond healthy. And it's all about the environment, right? What environment is best for him? And he placed himself there, and by placing himself in those correct environments, I don't know how many different gyms he tried out or whatever it was, right? But by placing himself in the correct environment, the correct people were there, and he is doing nothing but excelling. So it's really about the environment. It's really about the environment. And as a lunar being, don't let people push you into decisions that aren't good for you. You will feel at ease with your decision when your timing is correct for you. But if you're getting pushed off that timing or pushed out of that lunar cycle, you're going to feel ill at ease. So the inner authority piece here is really interesting because it's wisdom, right? It's wisdom that you're gaining from the information field, the matrix. You're gaining all this information. And then you get to go, oh, okay, this feels right. and you get to get, you're initiated into the decision, and then you get to that point of feeling at ease, and then you can move into the yes or no of the decision. It's all about ease, feel at ease. And again, not my definition. I can tell you the mechanics of it. I can tell you, and I could talk to you all day about it, but you have to experience it for yourself. Do you experience the little cog in the wheel? Do things like shift and move and different experiences happen so that you can gain that wisdom? Yeah, most likely they are. And you then get to open up and go, oh, and become very wise as to the wisdom that's presenting itself for that particular decision. All right, anything intrigued you here? If so, I would love to co-create a real fantastic, relationship where I get to learn by coaching you, and you get to learn by being coached. And what I love the most is that this is the most profound information, I believe, on the planet. Totally biased, of course. And I would love to share it with you. So let me know, contact me if you want to move forward and jump into your experiment with human design. Thanks.